Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Adventures Beyond the Horizon. I'm joined by my good buddy, John. Say hello, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing perfectly fine. Well, today is going to be a special episode. We're going to be talking about the Pony Express Trail, its history, and its modern-day amenities and conditions. So what do you think of the Pony Express Trail, or what have you heard so far, John?
Well, so I just want to talk about why we're talking about this real quick. So we've mentioned it previously. This is something that we are looking to do, and we just kind of figured it'd be a fun little, brief history lesson and some things that you should get when you're getting prepared to take this on as a journey in modern day times as well. So that's why we're talking about it. Can you just go ahead and repeat your question?
What have you heard about it so far?
Yes. So from the research I was doing, it was used for a little bit of time to ship mail back and forth from each side, east to west coast. Reading this article, it was talking about, this was a big shocker to me. When I read this, it was about $5 per half ounce of mail, which back then in the 1860s was a buttload of money, I suppose.
$5?
It'd probably be
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's funny because whenever you look back in the day, and a lot of people are just, how do I say it, are amazed by just having a $1 in general, and then having to spend $5 just to send a letter across the country, maybe not even across the country, 300 miles. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I guess it was not necessarily a necessity, just a faster way of communication between each coast because of how big the America is. It was hard to talk between each state. The reason why it ended, I believe, was actually because of the telegraph
Lines. Yep, they were building them while the Pony Express was being done.
Mm-hmm.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Just it took them 10 days to ride from Missouri to California. 10 days. Yep. And it took before the Pony Express, it would take them at least a couple weeks. But the riders covered 1,900 miles through the roughest terrains in the country, swapping out horses at relay stations every 10 to 15 miles.
Mm-hmm.
That's just constant riding. So the only time you have downtime is either sleeping for a couple hours and then getting right back on the horse and going straight on the trail again.
Yeah, I don't know their shifts and whatnot, but I wonder, they would swap for 10 to 15 miles, but how long are they traveling per day? I think, it says it actually right here, about 75 to 100 miles per shift, so you'd stop about 10 times and then you just pass the mail on to the next person.
Just that whole system that they were able to do to cover that much distance in that small amount of time is insanity. Especially for those times.
And so let's go ahead and go back a little bit to the founding of the Pony Express.
Okay.
So it was, I believe, it was established by the Central Overland California and Pikes Peaks Express Company. It was led by business partners William H. Russell and Alexander Majors and William B. Weddell. Yeah, and then we had already discussed that it was to provide fast mail between eastern U.S. and California, while tensions grew between the North and South before the Civil War.
So there wasn't a really great way of communicating with California until the Pony Express, especially since war was around the corner.
Yep.
That's interesting. Also, while that was also going on, the California population was booming due to the gold rush, and they needed a reliable communication that was really critical to them. So Pony Express was just a great thing to have.
So we've kind of talked about like the rider and the relay system. So they would have to be very lightweight. I think the riders were usually teenagers just because they needed to work and they tend to be lighter than a full-grown adult male. I'm assuming they were going to be all male at this point. I don't think they had female riders doing this. Because the couple famous riders that we were reading about, supposedly Buffalo Bill was one of them. In his autobiography, he claimed he was a rider. However, doing some more research, he didn't necessarily be a rider for like the main relay system. He was just an extra guy that would help around wherever needed, like probably take care of other horses or ride horses back and forth.
Yeah. According to historians, because of the Buffalo Bill persona, he usually exaggerated his life a little bit, just to make him seem bigger than he actually was, which is understandable. I mean, he was the main image of the Wild West whenever all that stuff came out, so it makes sense. But it's funny how he wanted to claim to be one of the riders.
Yeah, it would make sense. It was only operational for 18 months. How many other people really could claim that, you know?
That's true. Another notable rider would be Pony Bob, which I haven't heard about until this research. Known for his record-setting ride of nearly 380 miles in less than 2 days to deliver mail after the threat of attacks. It's a long time. Just riding in my truck for 380 miles hurts my butt.
Yeah, so speaking of other successes and challenges, the Pony Express was a bold and effective operation in terms of speed. It successfully cut the time for the cross-country communication to, I think we've already kind of discussed it, about 10 days.
We did that,
which, yeah, for sure. But it was expensive, and we already talked about the $5. Despite it being speed and bravery of its riders, the Pony Express faced financial difficulties almost directly from the start, largely due to the immense cost involved in maintaining the horses, relay stations, and staffing. So I know we previously talked about it being a short 18 months. It was about from April 3rd, 1860 to October 24th, 1861.
Yeah, it's a pretty short span of time. Its downfall came quickly with the competition of the Transcontinental Telegraph on October 24th, 1861. The telegraph made it possible to transmit messages almost instantaneously, rendering the slower and more expensive Pony Express obsolete, which completely makes sense because electricity goes faster than a horse.
Oh yeah, much faster. I don't want to go into like the whole science behind electricity, but definitely a lot faster than the Pony Express.
Hey, it's the advancement of technology.
Yeah, but even though, it was short-lived, it definitely had a big impact in the American history and culture.
It did. Even with that, they also run the modern-day Pony Express relivement thing. And every year they have people that run the same route the original Pony Express went on. I actually saw a video today of someone doing it, and they were on their horse and ran straight into a sign and fell off their horse. It was freaking hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they do that every year, and they have multiple contestants, and it's just a way of reliving the past of the great American past.
Yeah, so it looks like they did definitely change the roads a little bit. They have some paved, some dirt, some backcountry byways. Definitely good for overlanding and history buffs and any kind of adventure. Like, I bet some people still do it on horseback. I bet that would be fun, actually.
Yeah, it'd be fun, but also very hard at the same time.
Yeah, that's always been one of my dreams ever since reading Lord of the Rings, was to, go on a journey like they did on horseback and everything.
Well, instead of horseback, we just ride iron horses now.
Iron horses are motorcycles, so that means you would have to get a motorcycle.
Okay, an iron cart.
Iron chariot, if you will.
Iron chariot. I guess that works too.
Yeah. I say we get adventure bikes like Zane. I bet
Oh
that would
God,
be.
no.
I bet that would be a lot of fun. Come on, man.
I mean, I don't doubt that wouldn't be that would be a lot of fun, but I wouldn't want to buy all the gear for it, and I probably wouldn't do it nearly as often as I would with my truck. Because, like I said in that episode, it's not as comfortable. I like to be comfortable.
Well, here's the neat thing: if one of us gets it, we could, just rotate. That would still be kind of sick, wouldn't it not?
Rotate using the bike?
Yeah. Some days, you and I are pretty much the same build. I might be a little heavier set than you, just by 30 pounds, but it's fine.
You know what that also would require? You to move closer to me.
Or we just meet in the middle.
We're gonna share a bike by meeting in the middle?
Yeah, baby. I definitely do it.
You'd be the only one doing it.
You would definitely come meet me halfway, even if I just rode a bike, even if we didn't switch. You would definitely meet me halfway.
I would meet you halfway, yes, but not to own a motorcycle.
If I owned the motorcycle, and then we met halfway, I think you would enjoy that. Plus,
Yes.
I think there's another thing that when I was editing it, I didn't really think of, but the rooftop tent, I think that is definitely a game changer. I just wanted to touch about that. You can't have that on an adventure bike, as much as some people
Plus,
want to.
like in the winter in cold areas, you can also have a heater when you have a vehicle, and you're kind of limited to a tent and a fire outside if you're doing your bike.
Well, it's not a year-round thing. Granted, most people aren't going to be doing that year-round. However,
Yeah.
the show you did show me, the X Adventures or something.
X Overland.
X Overland on Amazon. They definitely had a guy go through snow, I think. Maybe. It's been a while since I've watched it. I remember there was a lot of snow, and there was an adventure bike.
I bet you he was miserable sleeping though.
Maybe he didn't bring a tent. Maybe he just camped out with one of his buddies.
You're only proving my point more correct, John.
I'm not trying to argue here. I'm just saying it would be fun. That's all I'm trying to say. We've already deeply discussed it. I'm just trying
That's
to
true.
get you to admit it would be a lot of fun.
Okay, yes, it would be a lot of fun during the day. I will admit that part.
When the weather is correct.
Yes, when the weather's great and everything's smiley and sunny, that would be a lot of fun. But anything else, I feel like I'd be pretty miserable.
All right. Let's go ahead and get back on the trail. Get to the main topic of this episode. Let's recap real quick. We were discussing the Pony Express Trail, right?
Yes.
So there are some key stops that I think most people should definitely have. It's the Cold Spring Station. It's one of the original Pony Express stations that they still have along the trail. So another great historic spot that I think a lot of people like to visit is the Fort Churchill, a historic military post protecting the trail. So I bet that's like where a lot of foresters are hanging out.
Yeah, I know that there's, especially in the middle of nowhere, it's a good place to camp out. Even overlanding wise, if it's a flat area and you actually have a building that was built there before, I'm sure it's a nice place to settle down for the night or the day or
just
something.
just to clarify, this is in the Nevada segment. Yeah, so I think in the Nevada area there's more rugged and remote than the Utah's portion.
Utah, I believe, has more of the trail in it.
Yeah, I believe that's where we were planning to do our portion, right? I think we said we were going to do 300 to 500 miles of it.
Yeah, it does start in Colorado, though, too. If we're going to talk about the Utah segment, the trail features a mix of gravel, dirt, and rugged terrain. Mostly passable in dry conditions. There is rain and snow, which can make sections impassable, and mud can be a serious obstacle after a storm.
Mud's always a hard time.
Well, especially if like a Jeep with big tires goes through there and they create those deep ruts.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you're going to be bottoming out real quick, and I've done that before, and it is not fun whenever you realize it. Especially if you're like in the middle of a mud pit and water's all around you. It's not fun.
Yeah, I took my truck up to a park. I think I've mentioned it. It's the Tahoyas State Park of off-road. And I could definitely fit my truck in there, but I can't go everywhere. And in the back, no matter if it hasn't rained or if it's rained, there's always a gigantic mud pit / giant puddles back there. And it's just so fun to just go in there and swing the tail out.
I do have a question. When it does rain and you do have those mud puddles, is the bottom of the mud puddle solid, or does it just keep digging in mud?
I'm pretty sure it just keeps digging in just of how wet those grounds are.
Okay. Because in Colorado, when we usually have those kind of mud pits, the bottom is usually pretty solid because, I mean, we're the Rocky Mountains. Most of the under there is just rock. So most of the time it's fine for me. But I was just wondering about that because in South Carolina, it's clay and mud.
Yeah.
And clay and mud's even worse.
Oh, yeah. It'll get stuck up in there and gunk you right up.
Suck you in.
Yeah. Stick you real good if you know my meaning.
Every time. Since we're still talking about the Utah segment, there are some key spots as well. You got the Simpson Springs Station, a well-preserved stop with a replica station and campground, so you do have some amenities there. You also have the Fish Springs National Wildlife Refuge, a rare wetland in the desert, great for bird watching, if you're into that kind of thing. Are you into bird watching, John?
Not me. Not my cup of tea. At least maybe not yet.
I'm sure there's a good amount of people that like to watch it. Maybe whenever you get to be an old man, that's the one thing you'll get into is bird watching.
Possibly.
Not me though.
So let's just rewind a little bit here. We were talking about deep mud pits. What are some safety and preparation tips you would give these people?
For mud pits?
Just in general, just safety and preparation tips for this entire trip if you wanted to make it a trip, you know?
Safety and tips, well, you gotta bring the right supplies. You gotta bring food, water, and fuel. At least a gallon of water for each person that's on the trip. Plenty of food because you're gonna be in a very remote area where you don't have cell signal. So you gotta make sure you're fed and have enough energy to keep going. Fuel, you're gonna very rarely run across any gas stations, so having extra fuel is a must to make sure you can survive. Like I said earlier, there's no service for long stretches, so you can either have a satellite phone or even newer iPhones, they have a satellite connection. So it's kind of like a satellite phone. So as long as you have all that stuff.
I know T-Mobile started working with the Tesla
Starlink
company, Elon Musk. Yeah, Starlink. Where it's now you just get it with T-Mobile now.
Well, apparently Apple did the same thing. That's where the satellite internet comes into play. That's a very fresh deal. I don't know how that's going to work out, but if that does become a thing, then that's going to be a big help for a lot of people in this kind of area.
Oh yeah, for sure. What about some recovery gear?
Recovery gear. Well, you're going to want a spare tire for one. Spare tires are very useful. If you're in the middle of nowhere, especially with no self-service, and you have a flat, you have nobody to come get you, you're going to have to walk somewhere. Also having an air compressor, if you do get a flat tire and you need to put up a spare, having something to pump up that tire would be great. If you get the tire off the bead, an air compressor also helps too. Traction boards are another thing, but I recommend that for any kind of adventure. It helped me out a lot of it has helped me out of a lot of situations, and they're just useful in general. Well, John, since I've been talking about recovery gear and the supplies, do you want to handle navigation over here?
Yeah, sure. We can talk about that real quick. a lot of people already know that they need to bring out GPS, but something that I would also recommend if you're going out for long trips like this is to bring an offline map, or even, just a tangible map, because what if your phone gets so much dust in it, it craps the bed? You're now out your phone, or if you have your own GPS system, because of all the dust and mud that could be flying into the car due to climbing in and out, or just in general.
Yep.
Good old maps are a nice, spare thing to have. It doesn't take that much room, and just a quick shove into the glove compartment.
Will you be surprised how many people actually don't know how to read physical maps?
Yeah. I used to be able to read physical maps, but I think that's a skill that I have now forgotten. Definitely would learn again. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I think especially if you're going to do long trips, that's one skill that you should definitely have. Because like you said, if your phone or your GPS or other device craps out, and you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah, so since we're talking about mud, dust, and all that, another thing you want to be aware of is the weather. Winter makes some parts of the trail impossible, so you need to know what time of year you're going, because if you go during summer, a lot of heat, so you'll probably be drinking more water than you would be thinking about.
Also in the winter, it can make some parts very just impossible to get through. Snow drifts, especially in high elevations. You'd be surprised, even in the desert, it does snow. So keep that in mind. So based on that, and I think we've talked about this already, what time of year do you think would be best for us to go? I'm thinking either spring or fall.
Autumn.
So fall. Okay.
Autumn's my favorite time of the year. I definitely would want to go during autumn.
Okay. That's fair. You don't want to see the wildflowers?
I guess we'll have to make 2 trips then, huh?
We got to make it in sections either way. So, makes sense. We could do, what I'm thinking is we could do the desert part, more deserty parts in autumn, and do more of the mountainous parts in spring. All right, now that we've talked about the gear and stuff you need, why is it worth exploring the Pony Express Trail?
Not only is it adventure, but it's also a blend of history into it, right? It's the perfect road trippers for off-roaders and overlanders, especially guys who are like me and don't go out too often. It's well-kept roads relatively, and it just provides a deep connection to the endurance and grit of the original riders,
It's like riding in the Old West. Get the spirit of the Old West.
Following in their footsteps, if you will.
Yeah,
there's stunning landscapes, and there's the plains of Kansas, rugged deserts of Utah and Nevada.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. I think that's originally what brought me to it, was just knowing that you can have that sense of adventure, like being back in the Old West, and it's more challenging because it is a longer distance, and it just seems like fun.
Yeah, it's definitely for off-road enthusiasts. It's one of the more rewarding trails across the U.S., and it brings both challenging terrain and peaceful remote stretches,
Yeah, that's going to be a fun trip. I'm actually really, really excited whenever we get all that stuff planned out and we start doing that.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
What do you think is going to be your favorite part of that trip?
To be honest with you, I haven't taken a close look at it, but I think I'm looking forward to seeing the mountains off in the distance, so coming like the desert into the mountains,
That sounds like a good one.
What about yours? What's your favorite part? That or the most rewarding section that you're looking forward to? I know you mentioned the wildflowers earlier.
I think there's multiple parts to this, because I'm excited for the challenge of just being more self-sufficient and knowing that I don't really have much support out there whenever I am out there. So just the challenging terrain, the reward of being self-reliant, knowing I can do it, and then just seeing how my truck reacts to it. Like, if my truck can make it through this trail, it can make it through almost anything, as far as I know, because I want to keep doing bigger and bigger trips after this. So this will be a nice, I would say little test, but it's not a little test, it's a big test. So
Yeah, great. Not necessarily intro, but intro, you know?
Yeah. Intro to bigger trips, we'll say that. But, yeah, that's what we got so far on the Pony Express Trail. We're going to be definitely planning this out more and more as the year goes on. But we just wanted to give y'all a little taste of what we were expecting, a little bit of the history and why we want to go there.
Yeah. Just a little sprinkle of what's to come.
A little sprinkle of adventure. And if you...
Beyond the horizons.
Adventures beyond the horizons. If y'all do want to look into the Pony Express a little more for yourselves, there are plenty of YouTube videos out there about it. I
personally would recommend going to .orgs.govs, but YouTube, I guess, is a
well. YouTube gives you more of the sense of modern day.
Yeah, it also gives you a video. So if most people are probably more in tune with watching the video than reading it up on themselves.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned it here before. The University of YouTube. You can learn anything and everything on YouTube.
Hey, if it's free and it's right, why not?
Who says it's right? No one knows.
That's why I said if it's free and it's right. Just gotta make sure it's right. But either way. Also, if you guys ever get the chance to see that reenactment for the Pony Express, that'd be a really cool thing.
Please let us know. We'll definitely bring you on.
Yeah, that'd be a cool thing to talk about.
Yeah, so I don't think there's much else to talk about with this for now. Do you want to go ahead and thank everybody?
Sure do. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Adventures Beyond the Horizon. We hope you enjoyed the journey as much as we did. Today we talked about the Pony Express Trail and its history and modern day trials. We hope you found our tips and stories as inspiring as we did.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to our podcast or following so you never miss out on an adventure. And don't forget to leave us a review. It really, truly helps us out, and it helps other adventurers find us. We'd love to hear about your own adventures or any other topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes. Connect with us on our Instagram or other social medias. You could also just drop us an email.
Stay tuned until next time. Keep chasing new horizons, stay adventurous, and take care out there.
Peace.
Ow.
Sun's coming up, it's a brand new day. Got the truck all packed and I'm on my way. Gonna hit the trails where the wild things grow. Kicking up dust with no place to go. Roaming around where the dirt